Hello everybody, and welcome to arguably the hardest and worst YouTube video I've ever had to create in my whole entire life. I don't even know where to begin. I've been feeling quite stressed out actually about creating this video because I feel like the title of the video and the news that I announced on Instagram is undoubtedly the type of news that's going to have been screenshotted and posted in multiple WhatsApp groups, gossiped about at multiple yards, where people have something that they know is horrific news to make themselves feel better because it's happened to me. I know full well, I'm not stupid, that this type of video, the title of this video, is going to be attracting people who don't have mine and Vossi's best interests at heart, who aren't particularly fans of myself and Vossi, and are probably tuning into the video rather sickingly to get some sort of sick kick out of seeing me pretty low. And I just want to make it very clear, if you are one of those people, you are not welcome to continue watching this video. I'm incredibly upset, and I'm also angry, and I'm also very numb at the same time. And the reason I'm doing this video is because it's going to be very obvious that Vossi and I are no longer around as a partnership. And it's some serious stuff that I'm going to be talking about. And I feel like I want to share that with people, for people who have grieved themselves about the similar situation, or who have also been through the worst possible situation with their horse or horses. And I think for me, doing this sport alone and feeling quite isolated most of the time, if I'm honest with you, I would like to hope that there's some sort of reassurance I get by posting this, in hope that others would be able to share similar stories and tell me the outcomes of what happened with them and their horses. This is all really fresh, which is why it's harder for me to film and harder for me to articulate what I want to articulate to you guys. So I think the wildest part for me is literally a matter of days ago, we were out competing our first ever British Dressage Elementary 5, which I was so unbelievably happy and proud of. And then a few days later, we get the worst possible news you can ever imagine, being a horse owner and only having one precious horse that you give your entire life savings to, that you give your entire heart to, that you literally depend on for so much of your happiness. And then all of a sudden you just get this huge bombshell of news that you never expected to get, and everything is flipped 360, and you are literally told you may never ever return to the level and place that you achieved just a few days ago. So I think before I do get into the ins and outs, I just want to clarify some things. So I think it's important because I am aware some people will be watching this video having had it shared by a friend who may think, oh my goodness, this video relates to what you've been through or what you're going through, and may not know the backstory of who I am or what my story is or what my journey is with Vossi. So for starters, I just want to start by saying I am your classic horse girl who has had horses her entire life, and from the day I was born, my mum and dad got me involved in horses. Neither of my mum and dad are professionals in the horse world. My mum has always had ponies for fun, had horses for fun, never taken any discipline seriously, and I was equally brought up in the exact same way. I was always brought up to enjoy and have fun and be a happy hacker and do some pony club rallies and go and have fun at the gallops and go take your horse for a fun hack, do a sponsored ride here and there. And my education when it comes to horses, very much in a simplified way, has only ever come from what I learned when I was back in pony club as a teenager. When you do your D, your D+, your C tests, those tests is as far as I would say my knowledge with horses is stretched. Everything else is based on learning from other people in the industry by being at different yards, learning from vets if something's gone wrong, and more recently learning through social media and from the videos that people share about all different types of health issues, different disciplines, different ways of doing things, and generally just how to be a better horse person, how to be more aware. And I'm now 30, and for the majority of my life I always sort of just rode my mum's horses that she would have. She'd always have one, whether it be a pony or a horse. It was just there for fun. So I would go out and I'd do unaffiliated show jumping, 80-90 centimeters stuff. And the idea of a horse having these sort of illnesses or coming down with something it never happened to me or my horses. I could never comprehend when people would say their horses were injured, their horses, something had gone wrong. I couldn't understand why, and that was it. And on reflection, it was pure naivety. We're very lucky at home. We only have 2 horses in and amongst an amazing amount of acreage, always kept in separate paddocks, so injuries are kept at a minimal. And we've always sort of stuck to your sort of solid breeds in terms of Irish drafts, cobs, Connemara's. They've always been the breeds we've always had, and they have always been such solid, sturdy, reliable horses. The concept of an injury is wild, and always was wild. Yeah, well, I just couldn't comprehend it. So the position I'm in right now is a minefield for me. And having owned Vossi, who is my first ever horse, for 5 years, I've never in my entire life and in my 5 years come across this situation. So let's get to it. So I have been very kindly sponsored by the most incredible veterinary physio, Claire from Bidwell's Vet Physio. And she's been working with Vossi for the last sort of 6 months. And the first sort of 4 months, her work undoubtedly improved Vossi's performance. And when she came to reassess and rework on him a month later, she was so happy with the state he was in, the way he was performing, the way he felt. And it was great. We were so happy. The last sort of 2 months, there were tiny little changes in that sort of happiness that I saw from Claire with relation to his way of being and responding to Claire's work. And those few little niggly bits were enough for me to start questioning how Vossi was responding and how Vossi was feeling under saddle. It made me alert. It pricked my ears and made me think, right, this is a professional veterinary physio's advice. I need to be more, my emotions and feelings when riding need to be heightened, and I need to be super aware of what I'm feeling when I'm riding. And of course, now that I was doing elementary style stuff, I could feel things easier because the workload and the amount of work that I was asking from Vossi had increased. Whereas before, we were kind of just doing mostly hacking during the week, and once a week we'd do some novice level stuff, 20-meter circles, walk, trot, canter, nothing major. So anyway, after riding him and sort of picking up on some little niggly bits myself, and having spoken with Claire, we thought it was best to get Vossi booked in to the veterinary clinic to have some tests done and some scans. And this was all done after we had one of the vets come out to the yard to do a rough lameness workup, if you like, where they trotted him up, they did flexion tests, tight circles on hard ground, as much as you can do, essentially, to see and feel the horse and the state the horse is in. And it was pretty much left at, I don't think there's anything major here from what we can see. However, if you're telling me that you've got slight concerns about certain things, it's probably best he is referred and we can investigate it further. So you guys are probably thinking, Charlotte, you're being so vague, but this is super sensitive information, and anyone who has been here knows how sensitive this is. In a way, like, I don't actually mind sharing it publicly, because I know in my heart of hearts, like, I'm never selling Vossi in my entire life. He's staying with me for good. So from a sales point of view, that's not a concern of mine. But what is a concern is this is really, really, really private stuff. And so I don't want to go into a certain deep level of it. So I'm trying my best to get you guys to understand what's going on without getting to a point where people online can turn nasty and it can impact me in a really negative way mentally, because I'm already mentally struggling, believe me. Sorry, it is exceptionally hot, and my phone keeps overheating, which is not ideal. And today is actually the first day I've come to the stables in a non-horsey attire, which is something I'm going to have to get used to. So I got him booked in and he was referred to the veterinary clinic to get more scans and tests done. We started by doing another lameness workup with another vet. Both of these vets were top vets and are top vets at the clinic that he is with. So the second top vet did a lameness workup with him. I was there to watch it all. They also did this thing called gait analysis, which is essentially an app that looks at the horse's performance and tells you where on their body they're showing signs of lameness, if any. And it essentially is proof to support what the vets see by their eyes. And it just so happened that the app was in fact supporting exactly what the vets themselves suspected, which was a degree of lameness from Vossi. Now, after this gait analysis and lameness workup was done, the vet also sort of felt all through Vossi's ligaments, gave him a good feel across his back, did lots of palpitations, checked his responses, see if he could feel anything unusual across his body, to help essentially break down and find what was causing this lameness, because that is what the key trigger point here was. There's lameness, right? So now we need to identify what's causing this lameness. Now, just to emphasize here, Vossi isn't insured. The reason being is because I like to put money away each month to fund vet bills should I need it. So I was fully prepared for that. So the financial side of things, yes, of course, it's a huge burden having to pay a huge vet bill, but I was prepared for it. So that side of things wasn't a concern of mine. Although that being said, I was very, very, very careful to get prices of every single little thing that was being done so I could keep a tally of how much we were getting at here. Because these things run into thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds. It's no joke. You don't mess with vets. You don't mess with vet bills, especially if you're not insured. So after the lameness workup was done, the palpitations and the feeling and examinations of Vossi himself were done, we were then given the option to nerve block. Now, for some reason, I was just not convinced. I wanted to nerve block, one, from a cost perspective, which some of you probably think you're an idiot, but again, I'm not insured here, so I had to think what was best in terms of how to spend my money. So I decided, having spoken with loads of other people prior to this, in terms of what is the best use of your money, and the same thing that kept coming up is put your money into scans. The evidence is in the scans. So I thought, right, the vet's had a feel of Vossi. He's seen him on the lunge. He's seen him, he's worked him up. He has an idea, a rough idea of where he thinks these issues are. So I opted, after the vet suggested 2 potential areas that were of a problem, to go with ultrasounds and x-rays. So we went straight in with ultrasounds and x-rays, and lo and behold, we had the worst news you can possibly imagine. I was not expecting this news. I don't think my physio was even expecting this news. And let me just tell you, the 3 or so hours waiting for these results to come back and waiting for the vet to carry out these scans was probably one of the hardest time frames I've ever had to wait and keep myself emotionally together. Had I not been, and had my amazing physio Claire not had been with me by my side that day, I would have been in absolute pieces. The results that came back showed that Vossi has a tear in his left fore ligament, just below his fetlock area. And not only that, but there is a question mark also around one of his suspensories. Not a tear, not something that screams, this is horrific, but a question mark of something we need to still treat, because it could get worse and it could mean it's the end of the line. Now, for anyone who has been through something like this, where you get the news that your horse has a tear in their ligament, you will know how bad that news is. And you know what? Because I've never had this news before, I had no idea the degree of how bad that was, how bad that news was, until I started speaking to a couple of other people, one of them being one of my veterinary friends, who told me that the chances of returning back to where I am now, that I've tried so hard to get to with Vossi, to this elementary level, is pretty unlikely. I have literally, I'm all cried out. I have not stopped crying over this. I must be the strongest person on the planet, because mentally right now, I know I haven't got a horse to ride for the foreseeable future. And I know, and I'm scared at how much that news that I'm still processing can impact me in a quite severely negative way mentally. Horses are my life. Vossi is my life. He is my happiness in my life. Going for a hack, going to my trainer's yard once a week for a lesson is my way of getting happiness from all of the other rubbish the world throws at you, throws at us, throws at me. And very quickly, the first thing I thought of when I got this news was my mental health is going to go into some really rapid decline if I do not get a grasp on what I am actually going through and what is going to happen. So very quickly, I almost went into regimental army soldier mode. And I thought, there's no time to even let myself get anywhere near that black hole. We've got to figure out what's going to happen. So, of course, the first thing that we needed to figure out is how are we going to get Vossi comfortable and what is our plan moving forward following this news. So, we've got a treatment plan. We've been told that he requires 3 courses of shockwave therapy. He's already had 1 shockwave therapy treatment. And he also needs laser. Now, based on a few studies that have happened in the last sort of few years, it has been proven that back-to-back laser sessions, between 10 and 15 back-to-back laser sessions, improves the chance by, I think, up to 50% of your horse coming back sound. Don't quote me word for word, I'm not a vet, I didn't write this article. That is what I am thinking I gathered from this article. Now, I'm not stupid. I've also spoken with veterinary friends who are happy to give me that news that I need to hear and not the good news that leads me on to believe that everything's going to be hunky-dory and great at the end of it all. And the reality is, from what I've gathered, this isn't necessarily going to be a happy ending. This is about keeping Vossi comfortable, happy, and as sound as he can be through something that could potentially never be mended. Laser is supposed to increase the chances of the body's natural healing process. Same with shockwave therapy. I've heard stories where some horses have been through rehab and been through this process too. They've got back out and they've re-injured themselves and had to go through the whole process all over again of being out of work for 6 months to a year. And that, of course, is my worst fear, of repeat and repeatedly getting back to this point where Vossi is uncomfortable or the tear gets worse. So as you can imagine, I've had a lot of information and not a very long time so far to fully understand and process this. And going back to the point of rapid decline in mental health, first of all, I'm trying to think to myself that it's okay. I've got a plan for Vossi. This is not the first horse that this has happened to. Am I okay with the fact that I never return back to competition mode with Vossi? I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. As much as it has broken my heart to accept that, and as much as I've cried tears over that news, I think I'm okay with that. As long as Vossi is happy in himself, which he is such a happy boy. He's still talkative, he's still playful, he's still so happy in himself. He's a happy Vossi. We all know our own horses. That to me is the most important thing. However, that doesn't then solve my issue of I need a horse to keep me happy and sane. I need to go out and ride to keep myself happy and sane. I need goals within the horse world to keep myself happy and sane. How am I going to achieve that? So my next thought was, I'm going to have to find something. I'm going to have to find a horse that I can either ride once a week or have professional training sessions on once a week to keep me ticking over mentally and to keep my spirit alive, because my spirit is 100% revolved around the love of horses and the love of the sport. And you, of course, can't just have that completely stripped from you, because that's when you fall into a pretty bad place. So action one is to make sure Vossi's happy, make sure Vossi's in a good, comfortable place, which we're obviously working on with laser therapy, rest, and shockwave therapy. And sort of stage two for me from a mental point of view is we now need to find something else to keep me occupied and keep me busy and keep me happy. I actually don't know how I've managed to keep it together throughout this video, honestly. As I said, I think it's because I'm either numb or because I've gone into regimental soldier army mode in my head. I've thought to myself, this low blow has happened, this needs to happen to solve this needs to happen to solve that, and that's a plan. We've got a plan, let's go with it. If I didn't think like that, I would be in an absolute I would be in an absolute mess. I'd be in an absolute state. And truth be told, being in that state is not helpful to the situation. You have to take the news, process it, speak with professionals, understand what is the best way to go about solving the problem you've got at hand and the potential other problems, the snowball effect, i.e. mental health as a result of this. How are you going to prevent it from spiraling? And working on that, having a plan and working on it. And that is exactly what I am doing. I think in terms of what I would find really useful and beneficial from you guys is if anyone else has been through something similar where they have had a horse experience some sort of ligament injury. What was your story? What was your situation? Did you have a success story or did you have repeat injuries after that? Did your horse ever come right again? Was it a case of you had to continually manage it and keep on top of it for the rest of the horse's life? I mean, I don't know any of the answers to this. This has just happened to me for the first time in my entire life. Is Vossi going to need laser for the rest of his life to ensure that his ligaments are in optimum condition? Maybe, I don't know. Is that a thing? So what I'm getting at is a topic that is usually seen as taboo, or this is the kind of stuff I feel people post anonymously on Facebook to get advice from because of the taboo around the subject and the criticisms that come as a result of how you treat your horse when you bring it back into work, how you bring it back into work, the level at which you could decide to compete it after treatment. I want this to be a safe space. I want this to be a place where people feel they can share their stories in order for others to flock to this video, go to the comments section and feel reassured that other people have been through this with their horses. This is their outcome, whether it's good or bad, this is the outcome, and people can make a decision for themselves to see and understand the process of getting through something like this. So please, if you have been through something similar to this, please comment below what your situation was, what your outcome was, how you are forever managing your horse as a result of what you found out from the ligament injuries. And yeah, let's try and help one another. and give each other a bit of reassurance from this. I think on the plus side, I think at this time I'm incredibly grateful that I am not at a stables, because I think having received news like this and being at a big yard, I think is enough to send anybody into a state of complete misery and upset and fury. Because naturally everyone is nosy, naturally everyone wants to hear some bad news to make themselves feel better. And I think because Vossi is at home and I'm by myself, I don't have that fear of other people at the yard being and creating this sort of toxic atmosphere, which ironically will still happen because I'm putting this information out there publicly. And I have no doubt that there will be people talking about this at yards and people sharing and discussing this information at their own yards. But that doesn't impact me or bother me, because I'm not in that situation. I'm not there myself. So that's what's happened. Voss is officially out of action for the foreseeable future. I don't know when I'm going to next be on riding him. It is just an absolute blow that I never, ever saw coming. I'm just so grateful to Claire, his vet, you know, his physio, who has been by my side throughout this time and who has helped guide me to where I am today, to get a diagnosis, to get a treatment plan moving forward to make Vossi feel better. And as I said, I do feel quite isolated by being by myself here. And not many people willingly want to share their sort of horse situations, because it's a very private, personal thing that I think people are afraid of talking about. So on that note, I think I'm going to leave this video here, guys. The news is out. Vossi is out of action. I don't know what the next step with me is going to be. I am going to be looking for a horse to ride, potentially loan. If anybody knows of anything, please let me know. Please get in contact. I would absolutely adore having another horse in my life that I can care for as much as I love Vossi, and ride and train with professionals with. And yeah, it's unbelievable how much your life and your horse, your current situation with your horse, can flip so quickly. Never take anything for granted. You know, a matter of weeks ago, I was sat here crying my eyes out because I wasn't getting the scores I wanted at BD. Now I don't even know if I'm ever going to be back competing BD with him. You never know what is around the corner, ever. So just be grateful for everything that you do and everything that you have right now, because it can always get so much worse.